Marvel has been at it for quite a while now at creating TV experiences for people. Now, we can go back a couple of years and talk about, their attempts at different things on TV, specifically Agents of Shield, which in parts it was good, and ultimately it didn't quite end too well. It had a peak, where a lot of people loved it. But I think that was Marvel's attempt at getting people excited to see Marvel on TV. And I like that. I love that they attempted to do that, and it really showed that they had some interest in that area. And then ultimately, they kind of migrated over to Netflix, which I think was a great idea because it gave, the creatives a little bit more flexibility in terms of what they wanted to do. But now they had a streaming service that was backing that project. And even though it was still being created by ABC, which is a Disney studio, even though it was still being created by ABC, it was still being pumped into Netflix. And I feel like Netflix created that entire Marvel Netflix universe, which was quite cool. You had these incredible connections between each story, and I feel like it worked quite well for a really long time, up until I would say Defenders. And I feel like, since then, I kind of, lost interest. I have to be honest. I watched all those other shows. I watched the first season of Daredevil. I watched the first season of Luke Cage. I watched Jessica Jones. I watched, Iron Fist. And then I watched Defenders. I watched all those series that came out afterwards, that came up until Defenders, and it was great. I feel like Defenders was a really high note for the series, for those series that were coming in before. Defenders was kind of like the smaller version of, the Avengers, and I feel like it worked really well. I think it was a really cool, transition between all these characters that we knew and loved already from those shows that were coming together and working together in one show. Now, my biggest problem and the reason why I didn't continue watching the show was, continue watching the other shows, I should say, was mainly due to the fact that, after they quote unquote faked the death of Daredevil, I kind of lost interest because I wanted to continue watching Daredevil, on screen, and ultimately they killed him off, and I was like, do I really want to continue watching after this? So, for me personally, I just said, you know what, that's it. After Defenders, I'm done. I'm not going back. I'm not looking back at this. And that's how it was. I said, you know what, I'm not going to see it. Goodbye. See you later. And lo and behold, little did I know that I was missing out on probably one of the best shows that came of the Marvel Netflix series universe, the MNSU, we can call it. Yeah, I missed out on probably one of the best shows, which, surprisingly, is The Punisher. And let me tell you, that was a huge mistake. That was a huge mistake on my part because ultimately, after watching all those episodes, all 13 episodes of the first season of Punisher, I kind of get it why everybody was talking about this series when it came out. Now you're probably asking yourselves, why did you already know why it took me so long, but why now? Why watch the Punisher series now, in 2025, being that it came out, what was it, 2018, 2017 that the Punisher came out? Honestly, I'm going to put it up right here. Needless to say, that up until now, a bit of time has passed. That was before the pandemic, before, all the craziness with Marvel and all that. Still, that was at a peak point in Marvel's, cinematic time sequences and stuff. So, that is saying that I messed up and said, you know what, I'm not going to watch these shows But now with, Daredevil Born Again, and me finding out that Daredevil Born Again is a continuation of this entire Netflix universe, I said, you know what? Before I get into Daredevil Born Again, I have to go back and watch all these shows. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch, I just finished Punisher. I'm going to watch the other shows. And ultimately, I'm going to watch Daredevil Born Again. And then I'm going to come back with a thoughts video on that show. But I'm going to have to watch all of those shows before getting there. But this video is not about all those other shows. It's solely on Punisher and why I think of all the shows that they did, be it Daredevil, be it any, like Luke Cage, be it Jessica Jones or Iron Fist. Why of all these shows did Punisher end up being my favorite? And it has to be one of the stupidest things that we can possibly think of, but it comes down to the story. So what is so special about the Punisher? Well, I think that it comes in with a lot of great factors and a lot of things that worked in this show's favor. Let's start off with the basic story. The fact that going in, it kind of briefly tells you or makes you understand who the Punisher is by just little nuances here and there. It doesn't hold your hand. It's not a series that's like, oh, let's build this entire series on exposition. There's not a lot of exposition here. It just hits you right into the ground and you hit the ground running with the Punisher. Now, if you know some backstory on the, comic book end of the Punisher, then ultimately this show is going to have a little bit more enticing things for you. Me being someone who watched that 2000s Punisher film, I kind of already understood the Punisher's background. But in this case, they kind of give him a little bit more to do. And you give a little bit more of an insight into how he thinks and how he operates. A lot more than that movie did. So ultimately, I feel like that is also playing in its favor. Another thing that I think works fantastically well for this series is the choice of actors for this, job, for this entire series. They got Jon Bernthal. Now, Jon Bernthal, for me personally, he's just Shane from The Walking Dead. But after you see him as the Punisher in the series, you start to understand that this guy is a whole lot more versatile and a whole lot more badass than you could possibly ever think of. And I honestly, now that I see him in this show playing this character, I just can't get that thought out of my head. He left, after finishing watching this show and, literally just trying to absorb all that I just watched, I have to say, he left that Shane persona in my mind behind, and now he is the Punisher in my head. So for me, he is absolutely badass, fantastic actor. Honestly, there is no other way to put it other than he did fantastically well as this character. And then we have to put on top the other people who are in this series. Benjamin Barnes, which I think played and counteracted with him really well. The chemistry there is really well done. It really makes you feel like, okay, he is losing a brother in this battle. He's losing somebody who he cared about deeply, in this case, to, a stupid fight, something that, he was contracted to do. No, you have to go out and kill people and do this and that sort of thing, and kind of made him lose somebody who ultimately, he cared about. He cared about, a Russo. So ultimately, this was the backstabbing betrayal of the series really is showcased very well with that chemistry that we see between, Jon Bernthal and Benjamin Barnes in this case. So they do really well and counteract each other very well. So that is another plus for this series. Another one as well that is a big plus in this series is Ebon Moss-Backrack. Honestly, this is my first experience with Ebon Moss-Backrack. I have never really watched anything else that he was in prior to watching this, and I just finished watching Daredevil. He's amazing as Micro in this show. Honestly, like, he was the character that, like, I second cared about most. Like in terms of like priority, I cared about him secondly, but ultimately on the same level as Frank Castle. I think that he plays this role beautifully, and something that I was thinking about while I was in the shower today, as I was thinking about doing this video, I thought, how weird would it be for the Fantastic Four to step into this universe, into our 616 universe, and ultimately we get to see an interaction between Micro and the Thing, being that both characters exist in the Marvel universe, and now with Daredevil Born Again, all these characters that were in the Netflix series coming back and existing now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's really kind of weird to think that now, if they were to ever see each other, whether it's through pictures or through memories or some sort of like weird connection, it would be very interesting to see, that interaction happen, because one is from the other universe, and then having him come into this universe and seeing his original photo, it would be like a mind meld, messy, beautiful idea that I would love to see. I know that they're not going to go that direction, but still, it would be really funny to see Ebon Moss-Backrack's character from this universe and from, the new Fantastic Four universe kind of see each other. Very funny, very weird, but I'd be totally down for it. Now, somebody who I saw online who is as well an actor/actress who's in this show that a lot of people complained about and said, oh, she just played it too straight. She's not very interesting. She doesn't really click with, the whole story. Here, listen, hear me out. Amber Rose Riva. What she did in this show was create a grounding for our characters. She serves as the let's say, like, if you think that all these other characters are lawless, you need to think about the person who is the law. And she kind of works to be sort of like the balance or the judge and jury in a way, and not really the executioner. It's kind of weird, but still, she is the cop in this scenario. Even though she's Department of Homeland Security, she is the person who grounds the story. Now, would I have preferred we focus more on Frank Castle and less on her story? Yes. As a matter of fact, that is one of the tiny faults in this whole story, but still, I think that she did a great job, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about her work in this series. She's not supposed to play it off as like, oh, I'm the, big baddie. No, she's not. She plays it like a cop, and she does it really well. So I have to give it up for her. She does a great job in this show, and I don't see any sort of major faults in her acting as well, as much as I've heard online. She did great. Now, two things I should say that I really would like to criticize about this show. The first thing is the fact that sometimes the story can kind of lose its way. And that's a problem that I don't like. I don't like it when the story isn't really servicing the characters. I mean, the name of the show is called The Punisher. Who do I want to see most of on screen? The Punisher. Which, funny enough, is the same sort of issue that I kind of had with shows like Andor, but in this case, you want to see more of him. You want to see more of Jon Bernthal playing Frank Castle on screen, kicking absolute ass. Like, this is literally why I'm watching this show, to see him in action. So whenever the story kind of sidetracks, kind of sucks for me. I don't like it. Like, focus more on the story. I love it that they give us 13 episodes. So give me 13 episodes of pure freaking action. Like him going after specific people, like specific targets. Like, each episode is a little bit different than the next, kind of melding into each one. Give me like small slices, very tiny slices, like maybe a minute or so of each episode you can give to someone like, Dina. I'd be fine with that. Just don't give me so much exposition on other characters. Don't have them be so dialogue heavy, and ultimately the show will just be a little bit better. But still, I wish there was less of the dialogue of those secondary characters. And the second thing that kind of really irks me a little bit, and mind you, this is a tiny little thing. It's not a huge deal. It's just me because I'm a bit of a cinematography buff, and I love beautiful shots and how things are shots are structured, and angles and creative ways of tackling shots. Those are the types of things that I absolutely love in movies. And if a movie is cinematography based, I'm gonna typically like it a little bit more than a movie or a show that isn't so cinematography based. So in this case, cinematography really isn't priority in this show. As a matter of fact, it's the least cinematography based show that I can think of. There are moments where you're like, okay, they kind of did some work there, but the cinematography is not there. As a matter of fact, this show feels more like a TV show and less like a movie. Like, if you think of anything like modern Marvel-esque, meaning anything between 2021, 2020, anything from 2020 forward in terms of Marvel TV, specifically for Disney Plus and that sort of thing, the cinematography is key and like straight in your face. I mean, you watch WandaVision, cinematography is amazing. You watch, honestly, you can literally pick up almost any of the shows that came out and be like, holy cow, cinematography, amazing. Moon Knight, cinematography, great cinematography. You can even pick up anything kind of related to it in Star Wars. If you look at Andor, cinematography-wise, holy cow, mind-blowing. Again, The Punisher, not cinematography-based at all. It's more a really like made-for-TV show. And for me, like, I kind of realized the upgrade. I like the fact that they upgraded now, and that gives me hope that if they do bring back The Punisher, that they're going to do it with a little bit more cinematography and a little bit more, I don't know how to put it, like pizzazz or more, magic. Needless to say, I like that they're going in the right direction by making the visual storytelling look beautiful. Overall, I think The Punisher was awesome. I loved watching this show. Obviously those tiny nitpicks weren't that big a deal for me. I loved seeing Jon Bernthal in this, show, and I can't wait to see him now in the MCU, TV show timeline, because obviously it was already shown that Frank Castle is going to show up in this universe. So it just goes to show to me that they definitely want to bring the Punisher back, and I hope that they do it with the same veracity, almost violent nature that we can see, Frank Castle just absolutely wrecking anybody that comes even near him. And that's the type of, series that I want. I want to have fun knowing that the characters are doing what you expect them to do, which is just absolute chaos when it comes to Frank Castle and the Punisher. But then again, those are my thoughts, and I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Did you guys like The Punisher? Did you watch The Punisher? Did you not watch The Punisher after it released on Netflix? Sort of like how I did. And did you go back? Did you go back and watch The Punisher? Did you decide that The Punisher wasn't for you? I want to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. Listen, guys, we're at 152 subscribers. I would like to see more of you. So please subscribe, because there's a lot of cool things. My next goal is to get to 500 subscribers, and I want to see if you guys can help me get there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.